What's up, guys? My name is SnyperSama, but you can call me Sniper. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going over my Evade Poison Spiritborn build. Spiritborn? No. No. Spiritborn. This is probably my strongest character by a very large margin. After I released my Warlock Apocalypse build, I had enough Whisper Caches saved up that I was able to level up another character. And I already had a Paladin, I already had a Barbarian. Honestly, I wanted something that was a little different from all of them, and I never see anything on Spiritborn. So, decided it was my opportunity. So, we are going to get into today's build. I ended up going back and rewatching the Apocalypse build. Ended up seeing a couple of different spots that I can make some adjustments. So, step one for this video is going to make it a little more concise, make it a little more efficient, kind of like my Monster Hunter builds were, to showcase exactly what is needed. Second part to this video is you guys are going to like, comment, and subscribe. The reason you're going to do that is because I asked you to ever so nicely. No, but truly, it is a good thing for me, especially with new content like Diablo 4, for you guys to be liking, commenting, subscribing, giving me an idea of what you want to see next. There is a video coming out earlier in this week, or that did come out, and it was the Heraldric Cube and how to make perfect god rolls, which is really, really cool. This is kind of secondary after that because we're coming towards the end of this Diablo 4 season, meaning a lot of these builds are going to end up changing. But without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we're going to start with our equipment. And what I mean by that is our actual armor pieces, these 5 here. There are a couple of pieces that are super important and valuable for this build, but I will give you guys alternatives, okay? The only alternative, or the only thing that doesn't have an alternative, is this Harmony of Ebawaka. Harmony of Ebawaka drops from Bartuk, who is required, or who is available through the Infernal Hordes. Once you get past a certain tier, it will give you one portal and another portal. You will choose the secondary portal on the right that is purple. It requires X amount of offering. You must get him to farm this most efficiently. Takes a little bit of time, but the reason it's so important is because of its unique skill, which states, according to your secondary spirit hull choice, your skills are additionally Jaguar, Eagle, Gorilla, and Centipede, and your skills do 30% increased damage per spirit type they have. What does that mean? Well, what that means is, you can see we have a lot of green down here. These are our Centipede skills. That is where the poison comes from. It is naturally built into our gear, okay? So, on top of the fact that they're Centipede skills, because of our Spirit Hull, naturally, they also become all Gorilla skills. But down here on Eagle, you don't see anything like that. You can see right here, all skills are now also Gorilla skills. There's nothing like that for Eagle right here. What Harmony of Ebawaka, our helmet, does is it gives us Eagle that has all skills are now also Eagle skills, because we selected that as our second spirit. Meaning, we get 30% from them being Centipede skills for having this helmet equipped. We get an additional 30% for all of them being Gorilla skills. And then we get an additional 30% for a whopping 90% damage increase, just because there are 3 different types. This is the only part of the build that is not optional. There is an alternative. You do not have to get it in the helmet. If you get it as a talisman, it can be crafted very, very easily with a unique charm that you do not care about, like maybe one of your ones that you just, whatever. Get rid of it, and you mix 3 helmets of this type, but they have to all be ancestral. And let's be real, the odds of you getting a decent one out of 3 are not horrible because it's a helmet. You're not going for crazy stuff, okay? That is the only non-optional part to this build. It is a requirement. You need Harmony of Ebawaka. Next up, we're going to go ahead and touch on our actual equipment, because nothing else sitting here in our armor is going to be unique, okay? First up, we go with Exploiter's Aspect Chestplate. What you want to go for here is going to be Dex, Life, Armor, Counterattack, and Maximum Resolve stacks. I should have touched on this with Ebawaka. On here, you want Maximum Resolve stacks as well when you are tempering your affixes onto it. So, Max Resolve stacks, Max Resolve stacks. The reason Counterattack is so important is because Counterattack is one of our main abilities. We have not gotten to the ability section. We will get to that in a minute. Next up is we have Aspect of Pestilence. On our gloves, the gloves need to roll with vulnerable, poison, damage over time. Any combination of those three is perfect. If you only have two of them, that's okay. Ideally, you want to make sure that your gear is good, okay? Which means you kind of either need to get really, really lucky, or you need to go do the tuning at the Haradra Cube, which is where everything came into play with making that video earlier in the week. Because hopefully you guys have already seen it, meaning you're able to kind of break everything down exactly how you need it. Next up is the pants. Pants are going to be Dex, Life, Armor, some sort of Elemental Resist, and once again, maximum resolve stacks. The imprint here is going to be damage over time. The imprint here, maximum resolve stacks. The reason we are using Glenn's Anvil is because the more resolve that we have, the more damage reduction we get. Meaning, it's a little easier to survive. It increases your survivability a ton. Okay? Next up, we move on to the boots, where we have Aspect of Apprehension. The reason I'm using Aspect of Apprehension is because it is super, super nice to pair with one of our abilities. This states once an enemy is slowed by 80%, or they also become feared, you do 34% damage increase to feared enemies. One of our main skills applies a slow and a fear, meaning we just get damage increase. Okay, it's not the greatest when it comes to fighting bosses, but I've had zero issues, and everything I play on is Torment 12, and I've been able to clear 120 in the pit. In fact, last I checked, I was a top 500 contender right now on Spiritborn. Okay, so we'll get to that in a second. I will show you guys, though. I'll go put a screenshot up. Now, we've touched on all of the armor. We've touched on the only thing that cannot change. Now let's go to the secondary piece that is almost a guaranteed requirement, and that is Ring of Writhing Moon. A pestilent swan swarms from you every 4 seconds, dealing about 7,000 poison damage per hit. Your pestilent swarms now orbit around you and reduce equipped eagle skills cooldowns by a quarter of a second. Now, basically what's happening here is our ring is spawning the bug. That is what you see currently flying around me right here. Okay? Once that bug spawns, it just stacks up poison. Does good damage. But the better part to it is that it refreshes our cooldowns on all of our eagle skills. Okay, so it's kind of like a Divine Arbiter Blessed Hammer on Paladin, where you spam your hammers and you reduce the cooldown of your Arbiter ultimate, is the same kind of concept. The difference being is that all of our skills are eagle because of Harmony of Ebawaka. Now, the reason it's so important is because you don't have to get it on the ring. You can also make it specifically onto your unique charm, but going for the ring is better, at least in my opinion. What you want on here is life, vulnerable, physical, and damage over time. I got very, 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 very lucky. The physical damage could be much better, but I didn't get that lucky, and because it's a unique, you can't change that. Little unfortunate, but you know what? Damage over time, maximum life, they're all great. As far as the other two pieces of jewelry, we have Lamentation Choker of Supremacy, so Aspect of Supremacy. This is going to increase it states, enemies you kill while an ultimate skill is active, grant a stack of Supremacy, increasing your damage by 13% for me, up to 130. When an ultimate skill ends, gain 5 stacks, but you begin to lose one every second. The secondary perk did not roll very well for me, but ideally what you would want on here is pretty much whatever you want. You don't need anything super, super specific if you are using Cullian tuning prisms, but if you are going for any of the resolve stacking, block reductions, dodging, anything like that, anything that your build may be lacking, you can apply to it, okay? Ideally, you want vulnerable, damage over time, and poison damage multipliers, once again with maximum resolve stacks. Did I touch on? No, I didn't. Imprint, damage over time. Imprint, maximum resolve stacks. Imprint, movement speed. I don't know why I completely forgot about those. I read everything else. Anyways, onto our ring. Once again, we want damage over time. All damage multiplier is fine, but getting vulnerable or poison is better. So, all damage multiplier. and the imprint needs to be aspect of infestation. Pestilent swarms deal 175% of their normal damage as poisoning damage. This pairs directly with our Ring of Writhing Moon, which also pairs directly with Ebawaka. Now, going on to the final part of this entire build, we have one very important piece, and that is the Shattered Vow. Shattered Vow is a mythic weapon that gives you some pretty good stats. Not only does it give you life, gives you attack speed while you're berserking, and there is a 56% chance on a lucky hit to become berserking, but you also get damage over time. The most important piece, though, is enemies afflicted by more damage over time than remaining life are executed. The way executions work is once your poison meter, the opacity in the back, has gotten to be more than the amount of HP that an enemy has left, they just die. It is a literal Thanos snap. That's game over. The reason it's so important and the reason it's so good is because it means farming is a much, much faster process. The alternative, if you have not gotten said mythic, is... I don't know why it's not over here. Where is it? There it is, right? Nope, that's the other one. That's on a different build. I don't know why I didn't put this in my inventory. Here we go. The alternative is replacing your ring with something else that you like, aspecting something different on it, and aspecting Gilded Pull, or aspect of infestation onto your weapon, imprinting the aspect of infestation. Now, the only reason that this is still a viable option and you do not need the mythic is because we are using two-handed weapons. Two-handed weapons are going to get crazy because their modifiers are going to be double. So whereas my ring currently has infestation on it, only has 175%, with this weapon, it is actually 350%. So it is very, very valuable, and it is an alternative, but it is a slightly weaker alternative. I actually get super, super lucky with both of these weapons, rolling gem strength on them. But just like before, you want to make sure that you have weapon damage, damage over time, poison damage multiplier. Ideally, you would get weapon damage, damage over time, poison, and vulnerable multiplier. But beggars can't be choosers, and this was still an amazing roll for me, especially with gem strength, okay? With the final imprint, if it is not mythic, being damage over time. But even on your Shattered Vow, you are also going to take damage over time, okay? There is a lot of armor, there's a lot of pieces, but the main things you need to look out for: maximum life for your own survivability, vulnerable damage multiplier, dot damage multiplier, damage over time, poison damage multiplier, and just damage over time. The reason everything works so seamlessly together is because you were able to sit here, pop all of your abilities, and just start dashing. The reason we're able to dash, we're going to get to our ability section. But you can see here that we are just frying the training dummy. Okay? You can see there, we're literally ticking for several hundred billion damage per poison stack. 184 right now. That is currently the amount of poison damage that we are doing. It's a lot of damage. You're not going to see crazy nuke numbers because that's not what poison does. But if we were to fight anything that said had less than 100 billion health, it immediately dies, which is where Shattered Vow comes into play. Next thing we're going to touch on is our talismans, okay? Abilities we will get to in a minute, but it's another long part. Talismans are going to be as follows. If you do not have a mythic Heradric seal, you are just going to use 5 of the Balazan's Bite. Now, the reason we are using 5 Balazan's Bite is because of the set bonus, obviously. All of our skills are poison. 2 set, poison effect lasts 80% longer and weakens enemies, making it to where they do not hurt us nearly as much. 3 set is going to be maximum life increase, as well as poisoning damage has a chance to heal you, which is really, really nice. And for the 5 piece, every 6 seconds, a non-boss enemy who you poison for more than their remaining life is killed instantly and unleashes Scourge. Scourge increases your poison damage by 250% for 10 seconds. Now, what this means is Shattered Vow is giving us the opportunity, when we do more poison damage than what they have left, to execute. On top of that, our 5-piece set bonus is every 6 seconds, when that happens, we are going to instantly cast Scourge. Casting Scourge is super, super valuable because it is going to slow and fear enemies, which, hey, goes back to once an enemy is slowed or feared, we do increased damage. The idea behind it is that by slowing and fearing and executing everything, you can literally just crowd control entire rooms. On top of all of that, the way we have our skills or our runes set up, we are also going to be getting ourselves a barrier, and we'll be using Vortex. Even though it won't be doing anything, we will be able to actually pull everything to us, fear everything, nuke everything, and move on. The really, really fun combination, and it's super, super fast. So, 5-piece screen. Ideally, what you want to be looking for is bonuses to Centipede skills is good, but getting things that has Eagle skills or Gorilla skills is better. And the reason for it is all of your abilities, thanks to our Spirit Hall, become Eagle or Gorilla skills. Centipede is still good, but you're only going to buff 4 of your attributes instead of all 6. Or, not attributes, but skills. If you have the Mythic variant, you want to go for Quatli's Grace. The reason for it is the 2-piece and the 3-set bonus that you get, because the Mythic reduces everything by 1. Meaning, we get the 2-piece, the 3-piece, and then we get the 2-piece, the 3-piece, and the 5-piece. We get 5 different bonuses instead of a standard 3. If you don't have it, it's okay. If you don't have it, I would just recommend Endurant Faith. Keeps you alive a little bit easier, makes it literally one of the best charms in the entire game without question. I would recommend this. Once again, if you don't know how to craft it, let me know in the comments. I'll help you guys out. But the reason, if you have a Mythic Seal, you want to use Quatli's Grace, moving your 15 meters increases Eagle skill damage by 60%. We've already established all of our skills are Eagle skills. And on top of that, it reduces all active cooldowns by 2 seconds. Super, super valuable. And for the 3-piece, it's not nearly as imperative, but 30% damage reduction while moving and for 1.5 seconds after. Now, we've kind of talked about all of that stuff. I've been yapping a little bit. In fact, I've been talking for 17 minutes. One moment. Make sure you guys are staying hydrated. Anyways, moving on past the equipment, past the talismans, we go into our socketables before we touch on abilities. Ideally, you want to make sure that you're getting gem strength. If you don't get gem strength, poison damage is super, super valuable. So, you want to be slotting in dexterity in both your helmet and in your weapon, okay? You want emeralds. The reason for it is because you'll get the poison damage multiplier and you'll get dexterity. For our actual runes, you are going to go with Yule Sick, and you are going to go with Moni Cry. The reason you're going to go with Yule Sick is you're going to cast a skill with cooldown. Every single one of our skills has a cooldown, meaning you're good, and you're going to be spamming them a lot, which is going to activate Concussive Stomp. That'll be part of the ability section, but I'll come back to it in a moment. And then for Moni Cry, cast 2 ability skills, and you will activate Vortex. What this means is Rushing Claw counts as a mobility skill. Because Rushing Claw is a mobility skill, every time we dash around, we will summon a Vortex. Okay? And then you can see there's a little stomp coming out from around me, right there. The stomp is going to end up just giving us more barrier, and it does a little extra damage. We have touched on the Spirit Hall. We've touched on the equipment. We've touched on the talisman, the socketables, what you need, okay? Next up, we go ahead and hit the abilities. Ability section, I don't know why they're all lit up like this. That's so weird. We are completely bypassing the basic skills. We are completely bypassing core skills. Holy, that was rough. Vortex. Vortex is going to be your first one. You are going to add 1 point into the basic ability. My item contribution gives me a 10, which is really, really nice, but you don't need it. Just 1. You're going to go for the 1,000-Year Storm. This is going to make it bigger. We don't care about the damage. It's just going to make it bigger. It's going to pull everything together easier. And we have Knockdown, which is going to make it a little easier for enemies to stay off of us. Now, Ravager, plus 15. Straight into Ravager. The reason we do Ravager is because it is going to reduce our cooldowns. And on top of all of that, having over 21 stacks of Ravager gives us a minimum of ferocity of 4. The reason that is important, well, actually, you know, here, we'll get to the Ravager pieces. Ravager duration increased by 2 seconds, just better cooldown rate. Flurry of Claws, this is just going to make it to where we get all of our cooldown rate, and then we have ferocity minimum. The reason ferocity is so important is because of our mobility skill, Rushing Claw. The way Rushing Claw normally works is it just goes on cooldown. You dash, you move on, you go. But thanks to charge refund on our tree, every time we use Rushing Claw's last charge, so since we have 2, thanks to our other modifier right here of Evasive Swipe, and then Incarnate Duration, okay? When we use Rushing Claw, it uses the ability. When it uses the ability and it uses the last ability, it consumes 4 stacks of ferocity. We saw earlier on Ravager that our minimum stacks of ferocity is 4. You can see it right here. It does not matter how many times we dash, we never lose less than 4. Because we don't lose less than 4, you can dash infinitely, making this one of the most mobile and evasive builds in the entire game, if not the most evasive one, by a very large margin. Because you never have to worry. You can always dash out of a situation. Okay? So, that is the synergy there, why the Eagle skills matter, and why you want 21 points of Ravager. Okay? That is where going for Eagle and Gorilla skills is more important than going for Centipede on your slots. Okay? So, now we go into Toxic Skin, plus 15 as well here, with 1 upgrade into Scuttlebug. This is going to weaken enemies, making it so we don't take as much damage, and it's just going to give us a lot of armor, which is really, really nice. And we get a little bit of healing. You are literally going to be just spam dumping all of your abilities with this build. Moving to our next category, we have our defensive skills, and we actually have 3 different ones here. Now, we are not using Concussive Stomp. The reason we're not using Concussive Stomp is because it's automatically activating, thanks to, not Moaning Cry, it's the other one, Yul Sick, okay? Concussive Stomp is going to knock enemies down, make it just a little bit easier for them to deal with. Knocking enemies down for 10 seconds so that they can't just rush you. And then on top of that, we get a barrier thanks to our actual upgrade. Concussive Stomp grants a barrier equal to 10% of your max life per enemy hit for 3 seconds, up to 30%. Super, super nice. As well as it hits around you, meaning every time you dash, if you just dash into a group of enemies, they're all getting hit. Boom, you got barrier. Super, super valuable, and it's an auto cast, so we're only going with 1 level into it. Next up is we have Scourge. This goes back to what I was saying earlier about the Harmony of Ebawaka and the boots, increasing damage to feared enemies. We go ahead and go back down. Scourge. By increasing our level in Scourge, we are able to weaken enemies, we are able to make enemies vulnerable, and on top of that, we get damage reduction. Super, super nice. On top of those, thanks to our upgrades, with the damage upgrades, with everything else going on, we get the damage increase from the imprinted aspect. Okay? The biggest part of the entire build, counterattack. Not only do you get a crazy dodge chance to where you don't have to worry about getting hit, but on top of that is going to summon a couple more bugs that just swarm around you. And it is just going to increase your damage so much. I almost said tenfold, but I don't know what the actual number is. But counterattack, you want level 15. You want to go with damage over time reduction. This is going to make it a little bit easier to where you don't take as much damage. If you were to use it and say you're burning, you're poisoned, something, you are going to want to take counterattack of the swarm. This turns into a centipede skill. And it sends out every time you activate it 3 pestilent swarms, which is your main source of damage. On top of that, because of that passive, it just weakens enemies. Last piece is deals 30% increased damage. Just damage bonus. You could opt to do counterattack duration if you really wanted to, but the thing is that you don't need it. you are able to get your abilities back so fast that it's almost a wasted skill to go for a duration increase when you're almost going to have 100% uptime anyways. And if you don't, you're just pressing it too fast. What you'll do is you'll spam, at least in my case, it'll be 2, 3, Q. You'll press your E, and then you'll pop your Ravager, which is 1. You'll dash around. You can see I already have it back. And I have counterattack. By the time my first counterattack ran out, I have a second one. And now you can see it's just an endless loop of abilities. It's crazy. Okay. So, plus 15 counterattack. Make sure you're hitting those. Another very important part, which you touched on a little bit, Rushing Claw. This is going to allow you to just dash away. This is why Eagle and Gorilla are important, because they will both get the bonuses from it. But you only need 1 level. You need Charge Refund, that way you can actually dash infinitely. Evasive Swipe, that way it becomes an Eagle skill, gives you the 2 charges, and it counts as an Evade. Super, super important. And Incarnate Duration. It extends the duration of your active skills by a little bit. This part's not bad, but you're not gonna be doing any real damage with Rushing Claw, so there's no point in taking the damage bonus. This is not going to be your bread and butter. It is the poison. You can see here, it is about 750,000 damage, which sounds like a lot, but when you look at counterattack doing closer to about 11.5 million, it's very negligible, okay? Last but not least, we have our ultimate, the Devourer. You actually only need 1 point into this. The reason mine is rank 17 is because I have so many pieces that give me Gorilla, Centipede, or Eagle. So, you want at least 1 level. You want Poisoning Duration, because it's just going to make it to where your poison lasts longer. On top of that, you want to take Spew Putrefaction. I don't know why I almost said Putrefaction. Basically, what's going to happen is when you pop your ability, all of these poison globs are going to fly out, and it's just going to poison everything. And on top of that is the more important part, the second part of the sentence. Enemies affected by your toxic globs also take 50% increased poison damage. This is super, super valuable because this means against bosses, when you pop your ultimate, they are going to lose more health at the start of a fight. And because of how fast our cooldowns work, you're able to keep that damage multiplier up. Okay. You could make an argument for Blast of Bile, but I don't see a point when we're dashing around so often anyways that it is not valuable, where at least where it currently is with the Centipede, it ends up being that it literally will burrow back into the ground, travel with you, come back up, spew a little, travel, and come back up. Last piece is going to be healing. When it's out, it just heals you for 5% of your HP. It's good, but it's not really a need. If you wanted to use one of these perks for something else, if you're not having any survivability issues, you can. But Thorns is a complete joke. You don't want to worry about it. You're trying to dodge. You're not trying to get hit and have Thorns retaliate. So I went with healing just because I'm playing on Torment 12 with everything, and the little extra buffer is nice. But that is our skill tree. Paragon nodes are a little more complicated. I haven't figured out the best way to go about recording these because following the line is a little much. But what I will do is we will go through each of the boards. We'll kind of hit everything. So for starter board, we ended up slotting in directly Menagerist. The reason for it is our Gorilla, Jaguar, Eagle, or Centipede skills all do increased damage. Super, super nice. On to the next board. We are rocking Vicious Shield. The reason we're doing this is because we are concussive stomping all the time, giving us barrier, meaning the more maximum life we have as a barrier, the more damage we do. So the more it spans, the better off we are. And as our glyph, we have Consumption. This is just going to increase our Pestilent Swarms damage. Super, super good. Super, super valuable. On to number 3. We are rocking Convergence as our board. This is going to increase the amount of damage that we do with poison. We're not using any of the other elements, but if you were to use any of the other elements, like, because I guess technically we have Rushing Claw as a lightning, I guess the damage is there, but like we talked about earlier, 750,000 damage, 11.5 million damage. It's very, very negligible, so this is mainly for the poison increase, and our glyph is Bane, dealing just increased poison damage. Number 4 is going to be Drive. You get 1 additional evade charge. After moving, you do 6% increased damage for 5 seconds. The reason this one is so important is because Rushing Claw counts as evade now, which means every time you're spamming it, just going around, this is activating. Super, super nice. Our glyph is Canny. The reason we're rocking Canny is non-physical damage increases all of the non-physical damage that enemies take. So our poison, the more poison they take, the more poison it does. Super, super nice. Okay. And then last but not least, we have our revealing board, which is Lucky Hit. Up to a 30% chance to knock down vulnerable enemies. We're applying vulnerable a lot, and you do increase damage against crowd control enemies, i.e. enemies that are feared, that are slowed. Very, very, very nice. Our glyph socket here is going to be Colossal. This is just going to increase the damage that we have with our gorilla skills, which everything is. As far as the actual pathing goes, you guys can kind of pick what you want. You just need to hit some of the more valuable ones. Like for me, damage increases on the secondary board with the intelligence are super, super good, but you don't need them. If you wanted to substitute these here for something else above, you could. These are just what I went to, and I'm Paragon 240. The thing that you guys need to focus on is hitting your legendary nodes and hitting your glyph sockets. Once you can hit all of your legendary nodes, you'll be golden. It'll be really, really nice. Make sure legendary, glyph, then go for all of the other bonuses, but make sure that when you are going and getting your glyphs, you are actually getting the additional bonuses in the middle. Those can increase your damage a lot. So, run the pit. If you guys need any help with anything, feel free to reach out. Feel free to let me know in the comments. I know I just sat here and talked for literally over 30 minutes, which is kind of crazy because this is also unedited. Like, this is very candid, just I kind of kept going. But I think I did a lot better of a job of hitting everything that was really, really important. And now you guys are able to get an idea of what is going on. I'm going to add a little bit at the end of this, or at the beginning of this. Probably at the beginning of this with a little bit of music or something like that, before the intro, being like, hey, this is how it all works. Since I sat in the training range with Rahir beating on this dummy. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for today's build. Thank you all for coming and watching. Thank you all for hanging out. Don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see all of you in the next one. Farewell.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.